1992 Ford Mustang GT. It's my origin car. It's what got me into it. I got rid of it like an idiot. Well, as you'll see, part of the story didn't end well for that car. I didn't cause it, but if I still had the car, it might not have happened. Who knows? I'm going to show you some cars that I had. They're all Mustangs except for two. And there's a reason I'm going to show you those two, because it kind of ties in. But end of the day, I bought a new Mustang, and the rest of them were either cars I built because I just couldn't get rid of the bug, or it was one I bought, like my 2011 strictly a vacation car. Is not in this video. This is primarily a Fox Body Mustang video. Goes over nearly every one I've ever owned. Maybe one or two are left out for a certain reason if they were just a parts car or something like that. I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to have my boys in it to some extent to tell a little bit about their story at the end, because there's something that they had a wreck in one of the Mustangs, and it'll be in there too. It's one of the last things that happened, so bear with me. But this video is mostly to have a record to some extent of the stories from my family, my boys. You know, I won't always be here. I'm 58 years old. Been to a lot of funerals in the last 2 years. I think I'm healthy. I hope we are. I hope I live to be, 100. I don't know. I hope I can still get around like I do. Some of you guys out there have those same stories, those father-son builds, and you see some of those on my channel now, and I've got a lot more content. I'm going to start stringing some of these together, and I'll narrate a little bit if I can get that word said. But this one will be narrated, and then I'll come back to the camera at the end, and we'll kind of go from there. All right, let's get to the origin story. This is my 1992 Mustang GT. I did buy the car brand spanking new in July of that year. I met my wife, Kim. I always put my name on the back window for some reason for a while. I don't know, people just got to know me that way. And it's kind of a throwback to my Air Force days, because here's a car that I had when I first did it. And that's the 1987 Mitsubishi Galant. And I'm taking a picture of it here next to a plane at Dyess Air Force Base. Now, I wasn't a pilot. I was a fuel specialist in refilled aircraft. All right, enough about this car. Let's get back to the Mustang. So this is in my grandmother's front yard. The car, I never did anything with it. I didn't have a lot of money back then to make modifications and things. So, I was just working in a factory. I think I was making barely $18,000 a year, something like that in 1992. So that car was basically stickered at my annual salary. If you look at the sticker price here, it was just a little over $17,000 in the bottom right corner. So that was a lot of money back then. So now you're seeing pictures of the car where it was wrecked. This was in 2016 when I found it, though. I did not wreck the car. Sold the car and traded it for a Toyota pickup you'll see shortly. But this car was very repairable, but the salvage yard just would not sell it to me. I've looked for it again. I cannot find it. So this is me and Kim, 1993. I traded that car for that truck because the payments and things there and the insurance was just too much. So to wrap the origin story of the Mustang, it was bought right there at Farrell Ward Ford, Ripley, Mississippi. So this is where I met my wife, Kim, for the first time in my experience. And apparently she had met me one time when I was 16, she was 12. But here it was 1992. I was in that Mustang, and she was standing at that gas station. The second night was at that McDonald's. You know the story. Small town, Ripley, Mississippi. Everyone's riding around in their car. I was in my Mustang. People were just out and about, and that's kind of what we did. And I picked her and her friend Keena up right there the next night in that little spot right there. So that's a little bit about our origin story. So when we met the second night, Keena was crazy about the Mustang. We're still friends today, and they're good friends. And Keena ran up to the Mustang. I had my eye on Kim from day one, from the first night. I throw the seat forward because I know Keena is running up to the door to throw her in the back. Now, Keena's a nice, attractive girl. Don't get me wrong. I didn't throw, as some guys might say, hey, the grenades, if there's two guys dating, one of you jump on the grenade, so to speak, go out or a wingman. You know, I don't know. It wasn't that kind of thing. I was by myself. I was the only guy in the car. But I put Ken in the back seat, Kim in the side saddle, so to speak. Had Kim come to the front to the door first, obviously, the obvious choice was, hey, raise up the armrest. Kim's sitting in the middle. Yes, it's a Mustang. There is no middle seat. What do? You know, you're young, you're crazy, a little bit dumb. You do stupid stuff. You know, there's no seatbelt, anything like that. And we were just riding around town. Not that that really matters, but it was probably not. I've done that before, and with Kim, I wanted her right there. So that's how that worked out. That's as much of the story we're going to tell right now, anyway.
Now, moving on, here is a 1981 Ford Mustang, my very second Mustang I'd ever bought. The guy was driving by my house right there, and I bought the car on the spot. Here it is. I've already painted it black, just sort of rattle-canned it, reworked the engine in it, and it was an inline 6-cylinder. And I worked at TCI Automotive in Ashland, so I had them rebuild the transmission, put a converter in it, and, you know, started really enjoying the car. And, you know, I worked under a shade tree, and this is kind of how the car turned out. Sold it for a little, I think somewhere around $1,500, $2,000. And in the background there, you can see a 1990 Ford Mustang. It didn't really have the correct wheels on it and had the turbines on it. Had a pewter interior, but that was sort of my second car in a GT style. So love that little car. It was an automatic, and ended up selling it later. And this is Kim's red coupe. She was in a really bad car accident, almost lost her. Don't know, by sheer luck, she was gasoline all over the road, that kind of thing. She was rear-ended at a construction zone. So we used the money that we got for the other car in the collision and bought that little red Mustang for her. That you can see we're parked in the snow here, and this is before I'd built the shop too, outside the front yard. And you see the other Mustang over there, parked next to it. Did test drive a convertible GT, a 93, for a weekend and took it back. Now, here's a little more of a story. Here's my 79 LX that was a V6 Mustang, and I did put a V8 in it. I worked at TCI Automotive, and there's my wife Kim and brother-in-law David sitting there. We're at the racetrack. This is an employee race day. They had kind of rented the track for the day, and we did our thing. Here's a photo of the car as I bought it. It was just a primered up car someone had, and I think I gave like $600 for it. Little V6 was in it, and I did all the conversion. Here we have Blackie, a 1983 Mustang that was a 4-cylinder. I did a little conversion. Raced this car extensively. I worked at TCI, you know, had an automatic in it. Really loved this car. Did a lot of work to it over the years. This is the photo of the condition it was in when I bought it. You know, it was just it had a red interior, not that great, that plaid style, you know, and there's the old shade tree that I worked under a lot. This little Mustang is what gave Blackie its black interior. Just an old beat up car I got from the junkyard. More on it later. It's got a busted quarter panel on the other side that you can't see. I ended up selling the car to a dirt track racer. You know, I got a lot of stories on these older cars I'll have to do videos on as well. And there you go. You see another little 89 coupe I had. Hey, had my back name on the back window of it too. I don't know why I knew it was a sweet little car. 5-speed V8 cold air cruise. Just an all-around good stock type cruiser. Nothing special. No modifications. Remember, I didn't have a lot of money back then. And there's the old fire department across the road from my home. They painted doors on it later, and you can see, you know, their photos. The building was brown with, I think, green doors. And here's a little 80. Now, this was a 90 model LX that I bought. I commuted this car a lot. I freshened up the transmission in it, cleaned the engine up, new radiators, things like that. And I think I put a good 3 years on that car, going about 24 to between 25 and 30,000 miles a year, I guess. Back then, I commuted a lot. And little coupe right here coming up that I built. More on it. This car got a camber, coilovers, that kind of thing. A lot of Blackie's motor and parts went in this car. It does have rear disc as well, and so did Blackie. And this car, it's got a little bit of a story to it. I've got all kinds of pictures and video on this car too. I had to actually go literally steal this car back from a painter and had the police involved and things like that. It was bad. It was kind of a bad deal. I had to threaten a guy over that. And this little car right here is the last of the two-tones that I built. Little sad story coming up for this car. And again, it was a builder, kind of a project. Came in with coilovers, 4-cylinder conversion. You see my little 06 GT in the back there. This is primarily a Fox video, so we'll keep it there. But sad story. Jordan and Cameron had gone to a little church lock-in. It's one of those deals where they keep you up all night and they do all kinds of youth rally type stuff. Well, they were coming home. It's something like 6 o'clock in the morning, about an hour and 20 minutes from the house. They were 6 miles from home. Jordan fell asleep. Of course, Cameron falls asleep anyway. He's just riding. And he was younger, so he wasn't driving. And Cameron actually was paying me for this car. And so it was going to be his. And Jordan was driving it just to kind of show it off. Well, there's where Jordan left the road at about 55 miles per hour. It didn't seem like he was going very fast. The grass was super slick. It had rained all day the day before. Well, look at the drop off, and you're in a Mustang in its rear drive and it's light in the back. How he kept that car straight, I don't know. You see, he got just a little out of sorts at the beginning, but it did straighten out. You can see in some photos coming up how in the world he did it, because he put it right between some trees. I'm 6'4", and you can see the top of the car went over my head about 4 feet above that tree. And remember, it's in the air because it hit a bank running up. He's coming up this bank right here. The photo just does not do it any justice. But look at the trees he went straight through. He straightened that car out and put it between all of that when he came to and woke up. And, he hits this bank. It's a driveway going across to a piece of property. The car jumps and lands in that little bottom down there. And that is, I'm going to guess 20 feet down, maybe even 30 from where I'm standing. And we had to get a tow truck to cut some of those trees out and pull it out. So, yeah, a little sad story on this. It's kind of where this story ends. And there's Jordan. Thankfully, their story didn't end. He's standing there looking. I told him that photo is him standing back looking at the rest of his life.
Well, I hope you enjoyed all that. Yeah, and we still have that car, that red and silver one. It's out behind the house, gutted. Most of those parts on that car, let's see. I'm trying to remember what all I'm putting that in. I'm using the transmission, I think, for my green Fox Body. Oh, I said Mustang. Zephyr, Z7. Going to do a little piece on that. You've seen it in some videos if you've been watching. The engine is out there, and we're selling that to another friend of ours because it wasn't harmed. Got the rear end, sold it to a friend of mine, front end, repurposed a lot of parts, in other words. So, and my little 79 Mustang ended up with a few parts as well. So it wasn't a great loss, total loss, I should say. It was insured, and I recommend you guys, hey, I use Hagerty. You can use American Classic or Grundy. I'm not sponsored for any of those. I highly recommend you insure your Mustangs. Please insure your Mustangs. It's not that expensive, especially the age they're getting. I do have content that I can produce for any of these vehicles. Most of the builds, the shade tree stuff, the real nitty gritty stuff, most of it is photos. I will say, I said videos. Most of it is in photo form. I do have some videos of racing some of these cars, little 8th mile track we had. But I was out in the weeds, the ticks. My tools were sitting out in the rain under a shade tree. Had a plastic toolbox. J.C. Whitney. You ever heard of J.C. Whitney? It used to be the little catalog that you could get like that. You just dream, right? In high school, just sit there and just flip through, dream, and I love this stuff. Well, I had a plastic toolbox that I got off of J.C. Whitney, and my tools are in it, and what little tools I had, and pouring down rain because it's June or something, Well, how June is in Mississippi. Well, shut everything down, go in the house, come out. It's mostly dry. It kept them dry, right? That was life. I've got a lot of that kind of stuff. Because I know that's going to strike a chord with some of you. And, let's build a community. I know almost everything there is to know about a Fox body. And if I don't know, I know somebody who does. And I've got books and books and books and books. I do EFI conversions. I burn chips, things like that. And wiring is nothing for me. I love it. Absolutely dive into it. So if you have a question about something on these cars, I probably have it at the top of my head. I intend on at some point over the next year starting more of a community. I do have a Facebook group, and to start bringing some of this in for restorations. I'm kind of out of the racing, so I don't want to go there, but restorations and bringing these cars back to what they used to be is my passion. Hope you enjoy it.